Hi, intrepid viewers. Dr. Lena here. I'm giving you a sociology sort of insight into the full-blown crazy that is going on. Now, since I last spoke to you, 200,000 people who were on probation for federal jobs collectively lost their jobs in one sweep. 200,000. 10,000 wiped from the IRS just before the tax season. 1,000 from Vets Affairs. So even the rough math on the back of an envelope tells you that 250,000 people or more have lost their job in the last 3 weeks. It is insanity, absolute insanity. That's blue collar workers who are going to lose more jobs through the tariffs. They are still to come on stream, right? These are white collar workers, no protections. Yes, court cases are going on, but the sackings have already taken place. And are we surprised? They all got issued with an email. I think this was just last night. If you haven't taken the early retirement deal, the deal is now closed. So there is no deal. Right. So let's have a look here. With the IRS, will people be paying their taxes this year? Like, will a significant number of people not? I mean, I've tried to give myself the challenge, and I thought if I was in that situation, would I pay my tax this year? In Australia, we have a system you can actually miss 2 years, even up until three, before they start coming down on you. So you can make a stand like this, but I don't know if that's the case in the US. Let me know. So my question is, will people not file this year? I feel for people who should be getting some tax back because there'll be no one to administer it, you know? But will there be a drop in revenue this taxation year? Let's have a look at that. Okay, come on down. Mhm. Oh, look, pentacles, pentacles, pentacles. This is all about money and changing it, rapid changing relationship to money. Okay, so look at this, fool's gold. People are thinking, why should I do this? And Elon's just going to take it. Things are happening so fast, people can't react or respond fast enough. This is just bowling everyone over. Six of Pentacles, I think this is people, this is about a compromise over money. This is about probably those of you who are expecting a tax return. I think, yes, there will be an impact there. And this, of course, is the wealthy intergenerational wealth of the robber barons, right? So this is the wealthy won't be impacted largely because they don't pay tax in the first place or they pay a pittance. So that's business as usual, but the rest impacts you guys, and I will say there'll be a significant measurable drop in people paying tax this year. Partly as protest, partly because they've just lost their jobs. I mean, people have mortgages, they have commitments, and they've been dismissed like that. It's fully disgusting. But let's move on. I want to talk about Alabama for a minute. Now, Alabama, big university. Her name is Katie Britt, GOP rep, Trumper, hardline Trumper. Until now, she's put out videos going, And people need to understand this. When you have a big university, it actually creates employment. And I was surprised, not surprised, to see that the University of Alabama is the biggest employer in the state. So now you're taking out funding for the biggest employer in the state. Why? Because they do not care. I hope Maga is paying some degree of attention to this. What they will be paying attention to is apparently Alabama households can qualify for a $100 subsidy on their utility bill. Gone, gone, taken away. And I'm sure there's variations in other states. This is hitting red states really hard. So my next question is, will there be more Katie Brits standing up? She's brave. Where are those with her back in the GOP? So will they have to stand up to Trump because even though they're scaredy cats, it's affecting their people like right now, real time. Right now, real time. GOP. I'm just hearing behind the scenes. They're not there yet as a bloc, but let's see the fine print of what's happening. And then I'll draw a film noir card for the GOP. So now, well, these cards speak really. You don't even have to be a tarot reader. Look at this. In comes the Yeti with the demonic tech bro at the helm, because the Yeti has always got other people to do his dirty work. Always, always, always. And here you have the willingness, big stick. This is really primitive stuff. This is my Fred Flintstone card. It is impoverishing their states. Hello. Queen of Wands. This is, I think, some in the GOP who may have the courage to speak up, but like I said, I don't see them rising up as one, as a bloc. But this is most likely an older woman or a woman with maturity who is going to be calling a spade a spade. They don't want to do it. See, this is what happens when you allow fear to take hold. They're scared of the Yeti, they're scared of their voters, they're scared of everything. They're scared of having to come up with a solution to the budget ceiling. They've dug this hole. They've dug this hole. Now, let's use film noir, choose one card for the GOP as we speak. Let's say in terms of now and early March, where they have to get something across the line for the budget ceiling. What have we got? Come on, down. Huh? I think you're going to develop a fondness for these cards. It's the setup, right? They've been set up. They refuse to impeach him. They refuse to say anything about him. And now they've been set up to take the fall. Now, what are the Dems doing in response to this? I hear you cry into the wilderness. What are the Dems doing? I saw an interview with Hakeem Jeffries the other night, and he was sitting back, relaxed, legs crossed, chatting, talking poly speak. I actually had to turn it off. Now we know Ralph Nader, that was a flashback. You know who I mean? Excuse me, and AOC, Jasmine Crockett and others are speaking up. But who is the new head of the Democratic Party? I don't know about you. I can't even remember his name. I don't know what he looks like, and I haven't heard his voice. They are squandering this opportunity. This is crystal clear. They should be encouraging people. Even George Conway and Midas Touch and people are saying, protest, go and protest. They have no answers. They're still being civil, polite, and the country is dismantling in front of their eyes. They're failing to meet this moment. Every single cut should be met with this is Trump and Trump's economics doing this. You are losing this subsidy because of Trump's economy. You're going to lose more in the next 6 months because of Trump's economy. Start attaching it. Look how effective Obamacare was, that people voted against it even though they loved affordable health care. Drill his name into their heads, tattoo it on their foreheads if you must. But the Dems have to keep making this connection. Not talking about individual policies. No. Loud, strong. They often do it behind closed doors in Congress, which I refer to as the Valley of the Hyenas. But sorry to break the news, the majority of people aren't watching debates in Congress. You have to talk in sound bites. It has to be all over social media 1 million times a day. Trump's economy is tanking America. Just get a tagline, stick with it, and stay on board. You know, it's called leadership. And it brings us to the point where the old guard have to go. Schumer and all of them, they've done their bit for the corporate Dems for 2 generations. Retire, make room for the young fireburns. When people next go to the polls, if there is an election, if people don't get out in the street, there's no guarantee of that, that they've got fresh faces, fresh ideas, fresh strength, right? Okay. They also need to start pressuring the GOP publicly, not just behind closed doors, publicly, naming names in every state, going, you are responsible for this. Get on the front foot and say, if you have a natural disaster in the Carolinas or Georgia or Tennessee, there is going to be no federal help because you are the face of this monster. But it shouldn't take an Australian to have to point out the obvious. Like, you know, please, man. And don't start me on JD Vance's speech. Oh, God. First time speaking to the world. Europe is furious. Absolutely furious. I mean, they're so insulting, these people. You know, like, oh, it's dreadful. Okay, so while I'm working out what the next question is, let's just have a little history lesson. Because of the Yeti wading in and changing the Alaskan mountain back to its old colonial heritage of McKinley Mountain, I thought, who is this McKinley? He keeps turning up. And so I did a bit of basic research. So in the late 1890s, when the robber barons were first taking hold, that's Carnegie, JP Morgan, Rockefeller, all of them. They divvied up all the spoils of this new expanding country. And I think it was JP Morgan who actually owned Niagara Falls. Therefore, all the energy that was generated down the eastern seaboard. The robber barons, so what you're facing, this is one of the upsides of America, is not new. Right? They had McKinley in the office just like this puppet. Okay, and that's when they annexed Guam, annexed Hawaii, all of it. So it's happened before. You can get out of this. but you must act. Don't let them paralyze you. Now, number 3, let's have a look here. Yeah, it comes from this worshipping of money. It comes from this idea of people very, very rich. And I'm not talking about people who are comfortable and maybe own a few cars and have a couple of houses. I'm talking about the ruling oligarchy. Okay. So while people worship money as opposed to taking the idea that when people are looked after and there's as full employment as can be managed and people are paid living wages and then you make a profit, you can still make profits, but these are obscene profits, absolutely obscene, right? Remember back in the day, 60s and 70s, a CEO would earn 7 times more than someone employed in their business or factory. Now it's 300 times or more. So this has happened everywhere. It's not just America. Australia's going through the same thing. We prided ourselves on being an egalitarian nation, and we had very good working conditions for most people post-war. But those days are over because we have let it slide. We took it for granted. But the difference is we have universal health care. And I'm sorry, you can't call yourself a free nation or a free country if you don't have universal health care. In Australia, you can still get privately insured. You want your own room? You want your own specialist? You can pay extra and do that. But other than that, you can have everything treated because it comes out of your tax levy for Medicare, just across the board, right? No, no. People will nurse their dying babies going, don't give me socialist healthcare. So America needs a big culture shift. Let's look at that. Will this lead to a big culture shift? And in case you're thinking I'm getting all doom and gloom, I have a twist in this tale, so hang in. But this is sort of part A of that twist. Will Americans have a big rethink, big structural, cultural shift? You know, when your kids are scared to go to school because they might be shot, that is not a free country. There's this illusion of liberty. Will this lead to cultural change? Oh, look, I'm seeing a bit of movement here. Look, these are both action cards. Okay, this card is known by tarot readers in shorthand as the cutting through the BS card, right? And notice the crown of the Yeti getting pierced in this. It's like he's a catalyst. America can either surrender and be ground down or stand up and fight and make a better world of it. People are organizing. It's fantastic. This should be applauded. People will be out in the cold, and I think this is the red states and individual families that will realize they've been passed by. I'll come back to this card and look at this. And this is my card for mass communication on social media with the Twitter birds, except on blue sky. There you have your blue sky. What did this card remind me of? You remember that saying after the Second World War when the West was going, how could that happen? You know, Germany was a civilized country. How could it, follow that madman into the darkness? Well, what we're seeing now is this, that old saying, when they came for, you didn't say anything, right? So if we modernize that, When they came for people of colour, you didn't care because it reinforced your deep MAGA racism. When they came for the gay and trans, it was awesome. I love punching down. Do, 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 do. The kids should grow up in the closet where I grew up, right? When they took away women's rights that have been fought for generations. Well, my pastor says men should be the head of the household. Okay, I think all of it's up for grabs. They're realizing that the GOP is actually not their party. They're actually might be forced into that reality. And it's only when it hits them in the face, one by one. So this is where my optimism lies, right? In the sense of MAGA brought him in, will MAGA take him out? And I think I guess, let's see, will we see a much bigger version of Jan 6, but with the shoe on the other foot, going, bring him out, bring him out. You know, my kids have died of measles. I can't afford an inhaler for my 7-year-old. I've just lost my job. Bring him out. Will we see that? Will I get there? Look at this. Look, MAGA is very emotional by nature. The Yeti cleverly played into their emotions of being the forgotten people and, oh, you're going to be bred into oblivion. All these brown people have too many babies and all that stuff. They fed every prejudice and they caught the emotion and they rode the wave. And now it's turning to tears. Judgment will come. Look at this. This has always been my fake GOP card, pretending to be happy families with all the hypocrisy that goes on in small communities. Remember that song, Harper Valley PTA? Put it on again. Have a listen. If you live in a small town, this is still happening. Judgment on that, and legal acts to follow. I think this is very promising. I think this is very promising. It's unfortunately they won't get there until it's personal. And my heart goes out to you guys who will be impacted. Sincerely, sincerely, sincerely know that. But know it's time. Better the pain is short and fast. No one can go through 4 years of this. It has to be fast. So guys, I'm loving the way this community is talking to each other. And don't forget, today, as I make this, I think it's going to be President's Day or something. We don't have an equivalent. Where else is happening? February 28th is global. Don't buy anything anywhere for one day, February 28th. And March for the Constitution on March the 4th. So rev up, take time out, be strong. Take care, guys. You never know. See you soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. Cheers.